What's going on, everyone? One of my most prized gaming possessions is the very rare ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut on the Nintendo 64. Released in 1998, it is considered probably one of the most rarest N64 games that you can find. And I got this game back when I was a kid. My parents took me to Blockbuster and they wanted me to pick out a used game that I could take home. And there was a shelf at the bottom. I still remember this day. There was a shelf at the bottom and there was a bunch of games, and I saw Clay Fighters, and I didn't know exactly what it was. I just liked the cover of the box, and so I picked it up. I played it. I liked it as a kid, and when I was done playing with it, I decided I was going to try to trade it in at EB Games, along with a couple other games. And when I got to EB Games, they couldn't find the game in their system, and for whatever reason, I decided to hold on to the game. And later on, years later in my life, I realized that this game was extremely rare. And we all know now that ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut was a Blockbuster rental exclusive. Sculptor's Cut was never sold in stores. It came at a time where Blockbuster was so godly that they could just have games made for them that was rental only, never sold in stores, never sold at Walmart, EB Games, anywhere. It was only meant to be a Blockbuster rental. So today, guys, I'm pretty excited to dive into this game and just see how ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut runs in 2021.
Crash one fateful day, turn mudville creatures into clay with heroes bent on doing right and twisted foes up for the fight. ClayFighter!
1-to-1 they set the stage.
ClayFighter!
Pounding clay is all the rage.
And they have been all to the tail, but Dr. Kiln planned to prevail and re-release the meteor's goo and set more fighters on the loose. ClayFighter!
They punch and kick and they do tricks.
ClayFighter!
And some are made as hard as bricks.
Soul Kiln grins from ear to ear, Clay Moto Isle just quakes in fear, but none of our heroes have their way and force the evil goons to pay. ClayFighter! Blow by blow, no turning back. ClayFighter! Living mud on the attack, but who will win the final match?
According to PriceCharting.com, the game complete in box is valued at about $3,700 Canadian. I unfortunately threw out the box when I was a kid just because that's what I did with all my cardboard boxes when I was a kid. I would throw them on the ground, they'd get smushed. My mom would probably come into the room, get upset that the room was a mess, and throw it out. So I don't have the box anymore, but I luckily still have the cartridge and the instruction manual. And those two things are valued at about $2,000 Canadian. And the reason why this game is so valuable is because there was only about 15 to 20,000 of these games made, the copies of this game made. And the box and manual being way more rare because the way that Blockbuster would rent their games, right? If you remember, sometimes the games would have the instruction manual in the rental with them, and people would beat them up and not return them and things like that, so they would go missing. And ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut is essentially a refreshed version of ClayFighter 63 1/3. That game's not hard to find. It was available in all stores. Pretty easy to find on the used market. And this game was developed and published by Interplay Productions, a company known for making some serious gems in our gaming history. Earthworm Jim, Baldur's Gate, Fallout, and more.
Let's get ready to crumble! You and me, buddy. Fight! Encore clap! The monkey won't fight right! The monkey! The monkey!
And ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut in particular was never reviewed by the big companies, but ClayFighter 63 1/3 was, and well, it didn't review very well. Companies like IGN giving it a 3.7 out of 10, GameSpot giving it a 3.1 out of 10, CNET giving it a 1 out of 5. And if you would look at some more of the gameplay coming up here, you can kind of see why these companies rated the game like they did. And the game has neat animations, like stop animations, like a movie film. And essentially the differences between 63 and a third and Sculptor's Cut was just additional content. So this one has 4 extra characters. I think they removed 1 character, extra voice acting. They added like a story animation at the beginning. Just different things like that. It wasn't a huge difference, but because, like I said earlier, because it was the rental version, that's why it's so rare. And honestly, the controls did not age well for this game. And it's not entirely the game's fault for this. I put some of the blame back on the N64 controller. While I was playing this game, I kept thinking to myself, man, this controller does not feel good anymore. Luckily, you can still use the D-pad for this game, but it just does not feel that good using that controller anymore. I don't know how we did it for so long. I guess we just had nothing else to base it on, but it made me want to use like one of those newer like Hyperkin N64 controllers where they're kind of remodeled more to look like I think like an Xbox controller or GameCube controller. So I'd rather use something like that if I could, just because it would just make it a lot easier. Now, frankly, if I do play any more N64 games for YouTube or just Let's Plays, then I think I'm gonna have to pick up that controller.
Take this.
And each fight has 2 rounds, and you can do a finisher, a lot like Mortal Kombat or any other fighting game, really. To use the 4 additional characters in the game, you have to enter cheat codes at the character menu. The game has Earthworm Jim, Sumo Santa, Booger Man, and High Five as the additional characters in this game. And this was the last ClayFighter game that was ever made. Interplay came close to making another on the Wii and the DS, and they were going to call it ClayFighter Call of Putty, which is kind of a play on Call of Duty, but that game never saw a release, and when I was looking it up, it was just TBD.
Fight!
So really, just how does ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut run today? Well, it doesn't run really good. I remember when I was a kid, I enjoyed this game, which is weird because now as an adult, I don't know what I saw in it. It has barely any content to keep you coming back. The controls are clunky. The frame rate and gameplay is not good. It's just one of those games that is so bad that you play for one night with friends for a good laugh. It certainly will not be a game that I play anytime soon. And of course, it's obviously a good game for the collection. If you're lucky to own this game, then hold on to it for sure, because the value only seems to be going up on it. I've had a couple times where I've been tempted to sell it, and I never do, just because I just see the value going up. And frankly, I have sentimental value with it. With a lot of my games, I don't really have much interest in selling games these days because I have too much sentimental value with them. And so I'll probably hold on to this one for years to come.
My elves hit harder than you. Fight! Jingle this.
And it's honestly one of those games where it's more known for the history of it, the fact that it was a rental only for Blockbuster. It's more known for that than it was for the gameplay or the characters in the game or anything like that. So that's it from me, guys. This is pretty much ClayFighter Sculptor's Cut in a nutshell. I played it for about an hour. I have no interest in playing it again, but I'll definitely be holding on to it. If you have this game in your collection, let me know in the comments below if you ever played it as an adult, if you still enjoy it, if you enjoyed it as a kid. Frankly, I don't know what I was thinking when I was a kid and playing this game and enjoying it so much. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, if you do own this game and if you're planning on holding on to it, if you sold it or anything like that. But for now, guys, have a good one.